This is a regular meeting of the Real Estate and Open Space Committee for Friday, October 16th, 2020. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, GLC 30A, Section 18, the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting and the Town of Harwich Real Estate and Open Space Committee on October 16, 2020 will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Harwich website at www.harwich/-ma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so in the following manner on Channel 18 or by watching the simulcast at http.
You don't have to read all that.
Okay, good. Okay, so Real Estate and Open Space Committee, Friday, October 16th. We now call to order. We'll do a roll call vote. Kathy?
Here.
Dave? You're muted, Dave. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Carol?
Here.
Okay. James? Not yet. Okay. First order of business is approval of the minutes, and I would entertain a motion to approve both the regular and the executive session minutes. Is there any?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on them or amendments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Again, roll.
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Jim? Okay.
Yeah, hi, it's Jim here.
Okay. Okay. Old business. Bank Street property. This is something that we've been dealing with for quite a while. And it seems that the progression has stalled. Nothing has gone on there. I spoke to Mr. Powers, interim town administrator, yesterday to find out what was the status. They have gone through the firehouse, the old firehouse, and they've determined things that they could salvage, they could save, and things that need to be trashed. There doesn't seem to be anything worth auctioning off to raise any money. They have done the investigation, and there was a question about tanks under the ground, but it's been shown that they had been removed a long time ago. Amy, is that correct? You know about? Okay. And also there is some asbestos and there is lead paint. They're going to put out, but I believe they're going to put out the RFP to have a firm come and do the remediation on that. And he said he expects to start the demolition and have it completed sometime in March and April before the beach season starts. So that's where we stand with that. He also, Michael Locke was also on this call with me to Mr. Powers, and he spoke about the interest that Harwich Conservation Trust has in that property. And I think that those talks are going to start again. There's going to be some discussion between HCT and the town about that property, which, you know, adjoins the Culper, Robert Smith. So at least we know that things are moving along. Amy, do you have anything that you can add?
No, I don't have anything to add for that one.
Okay, all right. Charlene, is there anything under your purview about this property that,
No, it's a strange little property in that zoning wise. It wouldn't even be buildable for a lot in its current configuration. So, to keep it as conservation land, if that's possible, I think would be a great thing.
yeah, well, at town meeting in 2017, the vote was that the firehouse would be demolished and the property would be put up for sale. And at that time, the money was then supposed to go to offset the expenses of the renovation or revitalization of Saquatucket. Now, apparently, Saquatucket, with the grants and whatever other money they got, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a question is where the money from the sale of this property is going to go, because it may not at this point go towards any incurred debt at Saquatucket. But that's all I know. It's something they're going to have to work out and come up with, I guess.
Yeah, that's something for the finance people to figure out, not us.
Right. Well, I know when I read through the minutes from that town meeting, there was someone did propose a change that the money, instead of going towards Saquatucket, would go into a land fund account or something, but that was voted down. So, I don't know. Okay, so that's the update on Bank Street. Again, it's a project that's been going on for more than 3 years now. Any other questions or comments about Bank Street? Patty, I see you've joined us. Is there anything that you'd like to comment on about Bank Street property?
Well, no, that's been an ongoing interest, obviously, and
Right.
I hope it does stay conservation property. And I think the neighbors would like that as well.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah. Well, like I said, I think after the discussion yesterday that Mike is pleased to see this moving forward, and I think he's going to start the process of negotiating. Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you. All right. New business. There was no Harwich Affordable Housing Trust meeting. Charlene, do we have any thoughts on?
Sorry about that. There's actually a meeting next Thursday at 1:00.
Oh, okay.
Mike Locke emailed and is having trouble getting in, so I'm going to kind of sign off here for a minute. But all the information for the Housing Trust meeting is on the website now, so you can check that out there.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. Amy, you requested we have a discussion about the property located on Grassy Pond.
Sure. Go ahead.
I would just comment on, remember that at our meeting back, trying to remember the date, maybe back in June, we requested foreclosure on parcel S3 and M1 was sent to the tax collector for foreclosure. So I spoke to Amy Bullock yesterday, and she said, yes, all foreclosures are still on hold. And as soon as she's given the okay to go forward, they will progress with that. But now you have something to add about those properties.
Yeah. I'm just going to share my screen with you because there's actually 3 parcels. And hold on one second. Can you see my email here?
Yes.
So there's 3 parcels. There's parcel S3, which is 3.8 acres, parcel M1, which is 22 acres. And then I did find out that the individual who owns those other two actually owns another piece that's 0.35 acres that attaches. So these are the properties between Bank Street and Grassy Pond. And I totaled the acreage, I totaled what was owed, and I totaled what was assessed. I have spoken with the representative of the property a couple of times, and they are aware that a lot of money is owed, and they seem pretty amenable to working with us to acquire the property. The hangup is this S3 parcel, the 3.8 acres, which has frontage on Forest Street. As you can see, the assessed value, it's being assessed as buildable. That's yet to be determined. It is pretty wet. Don't know a lot of other things about the property. So with the other parcels, I think they'd be more than willing to do a fee simple donation to the properties, but that one, they still want to evaluate the value. And I talked to Joe, our acting town administrator, and there's two avenues. There's the fee simple donation or the foreclosure process, which, as you said, has been kind of put on hold by the town because of COVID and the state of emergency. So I've chatted with this individual a few times. I can call him again and see if they have progressed any farther into that into S3, that 3.8 acres, and see what they want to do with that. They are aware that it is up for foreclosure. And that's kind of where we stand on it. I mean, we could take it if we wanted to. I said, obviously, it's better to donate if possible. So I kind of left it in their court to discuss, I think, amongst trust what they wanted to do there. But I haven't heard anything further. In my last conversation was probably right around the last REOS meeting.
Okay. So would they go ahead and donate the two other parcels and then deal with S3 separately? Or does this all have to take place together?
It doesn't all have to take place together. They could donate together too. And that's something I did discuss with him. But I think he wasn't very upfront about who else was involved with this, the properties here.
Right.
So
right. I know in the past there was confusion about the names of the owners because there was always 2 or 3 different names that floated around on this. Dave, I think you were familiar with this.
I forget. Sometimes you see the treasurer of the LLC's name on that, or I forget the corporation that owns it. Sometimes you see the real owner. It is confusing, but they are all owned by the same individual. To Amy's point, I would not split these 3 out of a negotiation. Because if you look at least currently, I'm trying to read her email here, the S3, the 3.8 acres, only has $75,000 owed, and its assessed value is $187,000. If you want to be able to leverage the other 2, which are way over in back taxes versus their value, you want to leverage that against the whole package would be more owed than they're worth. If you separate out and accept the first 2, now you start to negotiate on just S3, which has more value than it has owed. So I would only do it as a full package.
Agree. Yeah, I see that.
what I had mentioned, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, is I said, the question was, kept asking me, is that buildable? And I said, that's up for you. The owners of that property to determine. The first thing is to get a site plan put together, locate the wetlands, look at the frontage, see if there's any possibility there.
And most of the lot is in the floodplain.
Right. So I question the buildability on it and the assessed value, but it has never, no plan has ever come in front of the town to verify that. So we are assessing it as buildable.
The question that I have about the stay order on foreclosures, and I understand when they say, well, we don't want to put anyone out on the street at a time like this, but when we're talking about land where there's no structure, there's no house, no person that's going to be put sitting on the curb, and property where taxes have been owed for so many years, I can't see where that couldn't go through, to be honest.
I think that's a conversation you're going to want to have with the selectmen, quite honestly.
Yes.
They're the ones setting the policy.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, well, that can happen. It can happen. Amy, so where do we stand? What, are we just waiting for them to get back to you, or?
Yeah, I'll reach out to my contact either today or sometime early next week, and I'll see if they've, the owners or the trust has discussed any further action here. And I'll let you send an email to you, Elaine, and you can just distribute it if you wish. But my guess is that there hasn't been any action. Otherwise, they would have called me.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, you had mentioned maybe about, I'm sorry, maybe you had mentioned about maybe eventually going for CPA funds.
Yes, that was the other part. I'm going to put a placeholder application in if, well, actually, so this is something I spoke with you about, Elaine. I would like REOS to kind of endorse putting a placeholder CPC application in. Not that we hope to spend any money on this whatsoever, but Joe Powers had mentioned that was a good idea. And Elaine, I thought you had mentioned that just to put a placeholder application in.
Right. Okay. Time is running short though for applications for this time. So, yeah, okay, we can put the placeholder in, and if, we'll see how it pans out. Okay, all right. Anyone?
Maybe I can help you with that too.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It shouldn't be it shouldn't be hard.
It shouldn't be hard.
No.
I've heard that before. Kathy?
I just want to say, if you put in an application as a placeholder, isn't that going to sort of trigger the need for an appraisal and the whole process of going before the BOS and, in part of the land acquisition policy?
It would bring it, yes, in front of the BOS. And I think that's a good thing, actually, because we can also chat about this whole foreclosure process at the same time, instead of using potentially CPC funds.
Right, but do you have enough time, in getting all that set up with, the looming application, not the deadline, but when they start reviewing all the applications? Because usually the appraisals, if, like, say, for example, you had to go through with the appraisal, those things are backed up for quite a while, my understanding.
I think it's from what Joe had recommended, that it's just a placeholder, that we can say that REOS hopefully endorses this application, and then at least get it in, and then as soon as possible after go for the other items that we need. But just to get this on, his recommendation is just get it on CPC radar for now.
And we'll also get it on the select.
We can always pull it.
Yeah, the thing is how are you going to get REOS's approval if our next meeting's not till November? This has to be submitted at the end of October, right, Elaine?
Yes, October 30th.
I was maybe I'm incorrect with this assumption, but I thought that hopefully, I mean, you're not going to see the application, but I was hoping to get your blessing, if you will, today to put in an application.
Without a number? We don't, I mean, do you have like a number you're going to put on there?
It was suggested that I don't put a number in for right now and just get the language in, but I know that that's not ideal either, but that's what was suggested to me.
Well, it's just that, you know, when, let's just say if things fall into place and we're going to have 2 applications in then for open space funds, then we would need to prioritize. So I think we would need to know a little bit more. I mean, I might be wrong. I don't know, whatever the rest of the committee thinks, but it's just a lot more pieces that need to come into play, I think.
Dave?
I would recommend that we don't do this at this point in time. I don't like that there's some competition for other funds that we've already applied for. This property is not at risk of, you know, development from the outside. And as Kathy points out, you're really not going to be able to present enough information to the CPC committee. And while it's a good idea to get it to the Board of Selectmen's attention, I think we're wasting other people's time trying to rush through an application for something that there's no way is going to be accepted, or hopefully it won't be accepted, because we don't want to put the other project at risk. So it's just my personal opinion.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Elaine.
Yes, Mike.
So perhaps another way would be to ask, Amy might ask Joe Powers about what might be a supplemental funding application time between October 30th and sometime in December. We all know what the stated deadline of the current round of CPA applications is being October 30th, but there may be a supplemental round, another window to add additional applications. So that might give your committee time, Amy time, to put something together that also satisfies the land acquisition review policy of the Board of Selectmen. But you wouldn't know about that supplemental window unless somebody asks Joe Powers about it. So that's another thought.
Elaine?
Yes.
I'm kind of thinking of it in a slightly different manner, in that if this application is put forward as a CPC application, in all honesty, I don't think you'd ever see CPC funds being utilized to get this property. I think it would actually push the selectmen to say, why are we spending CPC money on this? It's like, well, you can also go for foreclosure on this property, which is another avenue, and do, I forget what road it was, where we actually accepted the property in lieu of back taxes. So that this gets it on the table again in a more formal way. But I seriously doubt that, you know, we would even need to spend any CPC funds on this, but it at least gets it really back out on the table.
Okay. Any other thoughts, Marcia? And then Kathy. Go ahead.
I agree with Dave. I think that this is something that is not a sense of urgency at this point. So,
okay. Kathy, you want to?
Yeah, just so just for clarification, so the request in CPC funds, would it be a similar situation as the Judah Eldridge, where we're applying for funds to pay the back taxes in order for the property to be purchased? Because if that's the case, I have to tell you that that's a real problem in with the use of CPA funds now. I mean, that using taxpayer money to pay taxes is not a good process, according to those in the coalition of the Community Preservation Act.
Yeah, I agree, Kathy. That's, I don't think CPC would ever approve another application.
So, I mean, it just, yeah.
Yeah. So,
And that wasn't the intent. The intent really was, as Charlene said, is to never use any CPA funds and to use this as a vessel to pursue the fee simple acquisition of the property. But I understand your points there, and it's never crossed my mind to use it to pay for back taxes.
okay.
Me either.
I think if we speak to someone or some of the Board of Selectmen about the foreclosure process and see if maybe we can get them to change the directive so that it doesn't apply to land, that it would only apply to resident property with residents on it. If they can make that exception, and if we can go forward with foreclosure, then we can just take town can just take these properties and we wouldn't have to deal with putting in applications or doing, but again, there's no urgency. I don't see where, I mean, this has been going on for so long with these people. You know, I don't see that there's any stress as far as time limits on it. Anyway else, James, do you have a comment? Jim, you have to unmute yourself. Okay. Carol?
Yes, I'm all set. I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Carol?
No, I don't have anything to add. I agree with Dave that it's probably not the time. We don't have to do this.
All right. So I have a feeling that the general consensus of this committee is not to move forward and do a placeholder with CPC. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Elaine, keep in mind, however, if the interim town administrator wants staff to proceed with an application, it will be through other avenues and not through REOS at all. So, you know, we have to go by the directive of what we're being told to do by our boss. So there still be an application, which won't be through REOS.
Okay, so an application could be submitted for what, Conservation Commission? Would you be the?
We don't know. That's a conversation that's going to have to be had with the interim town administrator.
Okay.
If he wants us to move forward, he needs to decide who the sponsor would be of the proposal.
Okay, then my feeling is, and the rest of the committee can join in, let it go that route. And then if it does follow through, you can come back to us for support. We'll providing a letter of support or whatever we can do to show support for the project. But I don't think right now we all feel like we should take the lead on doing this. Does everyone agree, or is there any discussion on that or disagreement on that?
I agree.
Okay, we're good. Okay, Amy, so, you know, I think you have to do as Charlene just said and see how the administrator wants to handle it, and if need be, come back to us for support.
That's fine. Thank you. I just wanted to bring it to you.
Okay, no, it's good because this property has been on our table for a long time. You know, we have been discussing, and it would be nice to see a resolution to this. Okay. Okay.
Elaine, it's Carol. Can I ask, So I'm, making my notes on guests that are attending. So would caller 3 mind first identifying themselves and then muting so we won't get all that noise?
There seems to be a lot of feedback from whoever caller 3 is.
Right, could they identify themselves so I can make a list of our guests this morning? I guess I'll just have
If you don't, then I can mute them.
Amy, I would mute them if they're not going to ID themselves.
and I'll just put caller 3. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just say an unidentified caller was on.
Kathy?
Yeah, just a quick thing I was thinking about. I mean, this property was on our first list and then our second list that we sent to the Board of Selectmen suggesting, I believe, that we transfer or we do something so that it would go into conservation. So I think that REOS has already sort of made a statement about that property, haven't we? I mean,
Right. I have the minutes of the meeting on February 21st of this year. And again, the property was referred by conservation agent, and it was moved to request the tax collector to pursue foreclosure on the proceedings. And Kathy seconded the motion and it was approved. So yeah, that was back in February. So that
right.
wasn't.
We had created that other list well over a year or 2 ago.
Right.
And that was presented to the Board of Selectmen. And we also met with them about the list. So I think it's been out there quite a number of times in terms of that we support, moving forward with that property in some manner.
Right. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Any more comments? We're good? Okay. All right. We go to members' reports. You could go first. Marcia, would you like to report?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that the Zero Cherokee that we did a site visit for is back on the market. And it is on the market as one single property, but also it's under the market where it's being subdivided into 2 different lots. So I know we had pretty big discussion about that, last year, and there was originally it was foreseen to be divided into 3 lots, but it looks like they're only allowing it to subdivide into 2 lots. So I just wanted to let everybody know.
Charlene?
There's been no applications for any divisions of land for that property at this time.
Okay. All right. So that property continues to be, questionable. Okay. Dave, do you have anything that you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I know that, Elaine, you were looking for maps of the town to replace now that they're not going to be using people's GIS. And yesterday Wednesday, I had a long discussion with Elaine Bantha, and we both concluded that the data that was received from the person who created the maps has a lot of errors in it. And many of these errors existed last year and may even have existed back as far as 2018. I'm trying to get a hold of Donna right now. I've got a way I can correct some of the errors. I cannot correct all of them. But it's not a small project to do that work. I think the town has wasted money on a consultant to do some work that, as far as I can tell, hasn't been done. I also think that the use of Google Earth will not replace some of the needs that the town met using their old ArcMac product. But I just want to let everybody know, I've got something and it's all colored and it looks pretty, but when you dig under the hood, it's there's a lot of errors,
Let's see. Dave, is there any update with the water?
No,
Department?
I've not heard from Dan. Dan said he was going to run with it in terms of making an application or gathering the information for when the announcement about the application for that water grant would come about. He's got his eye on a particular piece of property. It was one that we had, it kind of surprised me because it was a piece of property north of the bike trail, and I'd always been looking east of the water department offices and so forth. But it's a good parcel and makes a lot of sense.
Okay. I think that newsletter comes out in November, if I remember from last year from the state. So he should be getting the information for that grant. Thank you. Kathy, anything? Oh, I'm sorry, Charlene.
I was going to say members first, but if anybody had anything.
Okay, James. I'll get back to you, Mike. James?
Yes, hi. So it's starting to look like I may have to resign from the CPC committee. I've had to miss a few meetings, since COVID started, with just the family situation and work situations become a little bit less predictable. So it's looking like that's going to happen. So I just wanted to let everybody know about that.
Okay, Jim, so I think maybe then we should be looking for a replacement.
Right, yep.
So if you all want to consider it, and at our next meeting, we will, someone would like to be our representative to the CPC, we can discuss it and vote on it, put it on our agenda. Kathy?
Say that if someone is interested, they should try to get on board as soon as possible because they'd have to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. Right. And also, starting after the applications, get in, they're going to start meeting probably twice a month for the next 2.5 months to, review all the applications. So it's kind of a critical time. That's all.
Right. Well, can we do anything now, Charlene? I don't have it on the agenda.
No, you can't.
Okay. That's
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may still be able to attend a meeting or two to continue our representation until someone else is able to step forward.
Okay, well, we'll put it on our agenda for the next meeting, and we'll work it out. Jim, I understand it's tough for you, and besides our committee, you have Conservation Commission, and I think from the beginning, you had said that even though you wanted to do it and all, that it was going to be a stretch, it was going to be a lot. So I appreciate the time that you have spent on there. And I can also understand why it's become a bit much, and we'll deal with it. We'll take care of that next meeting. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Carol, Dave.
I just want to let you know I have to leave the meeting.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Take care.
Carol, anything you'd like to bring to our attention?
No, just sorry I haven't been able to work with you on that consolidated list of questions, but yeah, because of necessity of sitting in with my grandchildren because they're remote learning while their parents work. So yeah, the disruption of COVID is interfering with my schedule too, but I don't think it's an emergency.
No, it isn't. And thank you very much. And this is something we can do after all these other priorities are dealt with. It's something, it's not critical to to us. So, and we'll get to it. And okay, got everybody, right? Okay, myself. I did contact Betsy Bray. I did inform her that the timeline, and that probably if she was not successful with the Conservation Commission, getting permission to build on that property, and if it were to come back to us, we would be talking about the eventual presentation of that property for to be purchased by the town at the 2022 town meeting. So I just wanted to make her aware of this is not going to happen within the next year. It just won't because of the timeline. I've been informed that the Board of Selectmen have changed the dates for the committee's reports to the board. We were supposed to be December 7th, but now I've gotten an email from Danielle that says that they want to hold all the committee reports in November. I know they started with Bikeways Committee the other night, so they want to get them all done in November, but they haven't given us a date yet. So when they do, we will be prepared for that. And I guess that's it for me too. I would now, let's see, our next meeting date is November 20th. Oh, Charlene.
Sorry. So your next meeting date is November 20th. I will not be able to participate in that meeting, so this will be my last meeting with you all. So I want to thank you for the time you've allowed me to spend with you all. I think you guys do some really great work, and keep pushing that rock up that hill.
Well, you know, we thank you very much for all that you have done for us, Charlene. You've certainly brought to our attention things that needed to be done and had the ways to do it and make sure we're all complying with all the regulations and everything that we should be doing, and, you know, kind of cleaned up our act and gotten a little more, I think, not on my account, but you all have gotten a little more professional. And I think the public watching us, if they do watch, anyone watches, see that we do work hard and we do discuss things and take it seriously, and that we are making progress in some projects that up till now have kind of lingered. So I thank you very much, and I wish you very well in your retirement. I know you'll still be busy somehow.
Thank you, Charlene.
Yeah, thank you, Charlene.
All right, we will talk.
Kathy, I'll see you at the grocery store.
No meetings in the aisles, no meetings in the aisles. Okay, I would now like to adjourn the regular session meeting, and we will move into executive session.
Do you need a motion? Do you need a
Yes.
motion? For that?
Yes.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn the regular meeting session of October 16th, 2020.
Wait. Actually, me and my anal procedural, you don't actually adjourn your regular meeting. You vote to move into executive session and not return to regular session.
Okay. All right, I withdraw that additional motion.
If you have the agenda in front of you, you can just simply read that and at the end say, and not to return into regular session. Or I'll read it and somebody can say so moved.
Okay.
You want me to do that?
Sure.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, paren A, unparen 6, to consider a purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the board on property at 0 Headwaters Drive, Harwich, Mass, and to not return into regular session.
So moved.
A second? All right, I'll second.
And you definitely need a roll call.
Oh, okay. Carol?
I agree.
Kathy?
Yes.
Marcia?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Thank you. We are now in executive